G'day, here we are back in the brewery once again. So today we're looking at the Pegas CrafTap 3. It's a counter pressure bottle filler. You can do growlers, bottles, even pet bottles, anything that'll fit in there. Why would you want to use a counter pressure bottle filler? You've got to get that oxygen out of the bottles before you fill them. Your beer's going to last a lot longer and be a lot fresher. How does it work? Simply forces CO2 down in the bottle, it'll bleed out most of the oxygen, and then it feeds the beer in. This is a big box. It's been a long time coming. It was probably over 6 months ago, I think. I was approached by a company called Pegas to review their products. I don't really know much about them. I know they're a growler filler. I've seen smaller home type versions where you can screw a pet bottle onto them, but I haven't seen a large version like this. So let's open the box and have a look. Apparently, you can fill growlers, glass bottles, and the pet bottle I just showed you then. You might have seen on the side of the box, on the underside there is some packing tape. It looks like it's been repacked by either Customs or DHL, and it's the bottom of the box, unless the box split, so I'm not exactly sure what we're going to find inside and what condition it's going to be in, but let's have a look. Instruction manual by the looks, and some fittings and bits and pieces we'll have a look at. Looks very fancy. Another box of gadgets. Another thing. It is quite heavy. It doesn't look like it can be sat flat on the bottom because there is some pipes and things coming out the back. Hopefully it'll sit there on the bench and not fall off. A couple of handles. It's a very nice looking machine. Probably a good idea to have a quick look over the instructions. They seem to be a bunch of like John Guest style fittings. Little rubbers and seals. There's some very small ones in there, so be careful if you are opening it. I'm not sure if they're needed, but I'm guessing they are. I'll give you a close-up look in a second. These seem to be plugs for electricity, you know what I mean? For the different power points around the world. I'll only need the Australian one, of course. Looks like some sort of spanner or lever. And we have a couple of bolts. I assume they might be to bolt it to the bench. They're different power plugs. And we have what looks like some sort of beer fittings, like John Guest style. Some handles. I don't know what that is. Might be to sit the bottle on or something, since it doesn't seem to be anything in there right now. Another seal, which might be for the top. It would make sense. The bolts, I'm not sure if these things are needed. That's one of the small things. I said if they are needed, be careful you don't lose them. There's what looks like a threaded bar and that thing. I'm not sure whether that's a tap or a lever or something. I also have a box here, which is probably the power supply. Yeah, that's the power supply. It's a nice looking machine. It's big, solid. Oh, that must be a replacement for that one, I guess. I'll just shut the door again, and to shut it, I've just figured out you have to sort of pull it out, pull that handle out, so the fittings can fit in and lock in. But I'll fling it around and I'll show you the back. Looks pretty solid. Not quite sure what that does yet. But this is a true unboxing. I've never seen one before. This is the first time I've really laid eyes on it, besides sitting in the box here for a few months. Haven't had a chance to open it. So I guess one thing to notice straight away is it looks like it's going to have to be like bolted down, and you know, you're going to have a hole or a cutout at the back of the bench. You could possibly bolt it down without cutting a hole in the bench or a notch in the bench, but then your bench is going to be away from the wall by a few inches. You'd have that gap at the back, which is not very practical. So yeah, I'm guessing you'd have to drill a hole in the top of your bench or wherever you're going to put it. Just sit it there nice and flush. I will say though, normally I'd be worried about leaving it on the side there, but it is quite solid and quite heavy. So just while we're standing here, as long as I don't bump it too hard, it's not going to go anywhere. It's quite solid. This seems to be a mounting template. And that's simply to give you an idea what space it's going to take up and where to drill the holes. So you'd tape this to your bench if you wanted to drill the holes where they need to go. There's the holes at the back. You could also use it, you know, it's probably not so important as a size, you know, to indication of where the door is going to go. So if you're installing it on a bench somewhere, you'd have an idea, you know, if you had a fridge sitting there or whatever you have on the top of your bench, just to give you an idea. Now, just looking through the instructions, and there's one in English and one in Russian. There's no sort of assembly instructions as such. I mean, there's diagrams, which is probably enough. Let's just give it a go. I'm pretty sure the handle is going to go on the top there. And you have a locking nut there as usual, if needed. And there's one on the side here. Might just move this over to the center a bit more. There's one here to the side. And if you saw on the placement card or the template, it looked like there was two handles. That's because this handle moves forward all the way forward, and that's to raise the bottle up and get a seal from what I can see. So we'll open that again. I'm assuming this goes in there and that goes on there like that. Now, this is where I'm going to have troubles with my demonstration here, because that must have to have that extra hole to go down through the bench. And I actually think I shouldn't have put that on there, because it's going to have to come up through the bottom, because that won't fit through that hole. This is going to make this demonstration at the moment quite hard. Just grabbing a towel so I don't scratch the unit or my bench. I'll just lay it down. And so this has to go through there, and I thought it was threaded, but it's not threaded. It must have, it's got notches in so you can lock it in and out. Now there we go. Just have to push a bit harder than I thought. And to get it down, you must have to twist it. Yeah. You twist these little bars here, and that's how you can push it down. But to push it up, it's just brute force. Now you'd have to keep that in mind when you're adjusting the bottle, when you're installing it, that you have to get underneath your bench to be able to push it up to the right height for your bottle. Now I'm not going to be able to sit this on the bench at the moment, so I'll just push it right up. So there's the pipes coming out the bottom. I think the white one there would be the gas. That would be like an overflow. And that would be the liquid or beer line. And that's another overflow. I think that's an overflow for the case. I can't quite see from here. There'll be overflow, from the fitting at the top, I guess, for filling bottles maybe. And another overflow for the case. Now these slide on connectors. Of course, will slide on there. I won't attach them properly now. They attach to there. And then you have these other fittings that will slide in there. And that's just so, that makes it easier so you can detach the beer lines for cleaning or moving it or whatever you have to do. Because these are, you've never used them before. I like these sort of fittings. They work really well, but I'm not going to push it in right now. And then your beer line, of course, goes on to that barb fitting. Now the problem I have here is I would have Buckley's getting this 8mm, well it's 8mm on the outside, it's only 4mm on the inside, onto there would be near impossible. So I'm going to either have to see if I can buy fittings here with a smaller barb, or I'm going to have to either buy a bigger line or some sort of reducer, you know what I mean? Like another one of these. It's quite possible. You could get one of these that just fit that line. You could skip this bit if you really wanted to, and get a line that fits in both sides. But that's up to you on your installation. But at the moment, yeah, it looks like if I was going to use this right now, I'd need a bigger beer line. That's kind of something I haven't understood much in the US when they use those really thick, bigger beer lines. Like they're much bigger because you come from, a 1/4 inch in there. And the ones we use, you sort of stay a 1/4 inch all the way through the process till you get to the tap. But I've seen like people overseas with these really big fat beer lines. So the beer sort of comes out of here and then goes into a fatter line. And depending where you're going, it goes back into a skinny line again, like when you get to your tap. So they are the bolts they supplied. And there's 2 holes, and that goes through your bench, of course, to secure it down. There's the hole that I stuck, so that goes through the lifter, and of course, yeah, that hole would have to go through your bench as well, and a hole for the drain, and a hole for these. They also give you a fitting for the drain, and that goes to even a wider diameter pipe there. Not sure what size that is, maybe 10mm. It'll open this up again and you can see that pole through there now. That is where your bottle would sit. I'm not going to fit one in there at the moment. I might fit a stubby. Alright, I don't have any stubbies small enough. Maybe a VB one might fit in there, or a little ginger beer one, but not the normal, these newer, they're not new anymore I guess. 330mm, the tall ones won't fit. But this is an example, and this isn't actually an example of what it can do. It doesn't matter really what sort of bottle it is. I think the idea is, put that in there. I think you raise it halfway, there's a little mark there. And when you got it in there, you raise the bottle up as high as it can go, like that. And you can lower it down again. You might have to change bottles or sanitize it or whatever you want to do. Then you can put it in there, and then you raise it right up, and that pushes it up to form a seal. Backwards for gas, flushes the bottle, forwards for beer. I'm still not sure what that's for, but it does look like, you know, a tap or some sort of wrench to undo something. Maybe I'll find out when I go to use it. The other parts, I'm assuming, are just spare rubbers and seals. Well, that's about all I can show you right now until I get it set up. I think I'm going to have to order some bigger beer line for it to fit those fittings properly, unless I can find something here that I can jig up and use my normal size beer line. Besides that, I'd like to thank Pegas for sending it to me. It has been a long and arduous process to get it here. Yeah, the Australian supplier couldn't supply me one, so they had to send it all the way from Russia. And then it got stuck in customs, and I had to pay nearly $350 worth of import duties, which I didn't have the money, so it's just taken time. But I'd still like to thank them for choosing me to send one to review. I'm actually really liking the way it looks, but the proof will be in the pudding when I try to use it, I guess. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for my Patreons. Like, subscribe, share, all that sort of jargon. And I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully not too long. I'll order the line today. It might take a few days to get here. And then, you know, I've got to make the video and everything. So we'll see you soon. Cheers.